Welcome everyone to a special episode of the Buck Stops here, the official audio show and video show of Notinhalloffame.com. And I'm your host, Kurt Buckner, the owner, the operator of Notinhalloffame.com, and of course, the sister sites, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, and a bunch of other things that I'm going to come up with. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to look at the seniors in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I can't do it alone. Guests, say hello.
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 Hi.
How you doing?
All right, the love boat it isn't, but it's still awesome. We are all here to vote on who we think should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame senior class. And I think anyone who's a Hall of Fame enthusiast, easy for me to say, enthusiast like we are, can say that, that's one thing they kind of got wrong. The Pro Football Hall of Fame, as much as we all love it, are a little bit behind in terms of there's so many players that probably should be in and are not. So we put together a group asking people who we thought should be in it, and everyone who's involved on this list have voted. So they voted on who they thought should be in, and I asked everyone to vote up to 25 people. And some people are here who were part of that. Some people were not. So it's a pretty good list. So shall we go into those who were, actually, before we go into that, let's just sort of like talk about all the people who were here. Shall we? Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Already introduced myself. Ted Crockett.
Hey, all. I'm a veteran Detroit Lions fan, unfortunately. I know there's no Lions to be considered right now, but definitely a Hall advocate and always following notinhalloffame.com.
Love the plug. Thanks so much. Paul.
Yeah, I'm Paul Lawrence. I go by Pro Football Hall of Fame Canton Guy on Twitter. I've been a Cowboys fan since 1977. And I've been following the Hall pretty closely for over 20 years. And I'm on Twitter, and I try to keep Vinny in check as much as I possibly can. And
How can we?
Our viewers are going to hear before you know much about our friend Vinny.
Yeah, we love Vinny. Vinny will be here shortly. Ryan.
My name is Ryan. I'm from Memphis. Grew up a Colts fan, but I live here in New Orleans. I was named for Ryan Sandberg. But I grew up, I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. And I'm sorry, Jack, but I'm from Memphis, so it's Cardinal country. But you can follow me on Twitter at @Hancock19. 19 is for Tony Gwynn, who was one of my favorite players. I wouldn't say I was a Hall advocate, but I do love history. I minored in history in college. And I'm really excited to be here tonight.
No, we're glad to have you. I did that too, English and history in college, which is why I qualify for any job with a paper hat. But anyway, no, nobody joking. Okay, fine, I tried. Bill, thanks for the smile. I appreciate it.
It doesn't cost anything to smile.
No, I appreciate it. All good.
Hats off to the host humor.
Yeah, thank you. Tom.
Yeah, my name's Thomas Hall. I write for Mile High Huddle. I just started my own podcast, Legends of Mile High. I've been a Broncos fan for almost 4 decades now. The whole show is really tying history to current events. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Thomas Hall NFL.
Bill.
So, first of all, there is at least one line to be considered, at least as far as I'm concerned. Roger Brown, 79.5 sacks, playing not 3 technique, but playing over the nose, 79.5 sacks. How is that guy not in the Hall of Fame? The first great 300-plus pound man in the history of the NFL, and a guy who ran a 10-flat 100-yard dash at 298 pounds while he was in college. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? I have been a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers since September 17th of 1971. I have written a few things in my life about history. including military history, a few published articles, a couple of published plays, some poetry of mine's been published. I've done some radio. I was a former co-host of a show on WEFT back in the day called Local Color, and taught broadcasting at Kennedy King College in Chicago, Illinois. I have also written for Around the Block Sports, Nuts and Bolts Sports, Pro Player Insider, some other people. I'm forgetting people. I'm so sorry. And I also run Consensus Draft Services.
I think he kind of trumped us all in Canada when we talk about military history. It's like, should we fight? No way. But anyway.
Have some Labatt, eh?
I run with stereotypes. Paul, you got my back. Ron.
Hey there, I'm Ron Katz. You may see me on Twitter as Ron, letter N, and then Cap Hill, all one word. Used to be a talk show call-in kind of guy, and that's how they know me. I'm in Denver, and you might guess that I'm kind of a big Gradishar Hall of Fame person and Broncos fan. But my real claim to fame is I figured out a way about 20 some years ago to go to Super Bowl week on the cheap and just do all the fun peripheral stuff that doesn't cost a lot. And as part of that, in recent years, I've been able to advocate for the Hall of Fame, especially for seniors. I mean, I'm a Broncos fan. I have my player or players that I like, but I've advocated for the Raiders guys like Flores, Branch, Don Coryell, people who really deserve it and maybe have been overlooked. And I've tried to use that platform. And then also you see the little patch. I'm humbled, and I don't know how it happened, but I was named Broncos 2021 Fan of the Year. So, yeah, I try to be a good fan and a holistic, like in terms of what you all are trying to do with not in the Hall of Fame, rather than just like waving pom-poms for my own team. So, and I'm thankful to be here.
Well, one of the people who voted but was not able to join us was Wayne Mabry, who a lot of us have met here. He's the Violator. So I'm sure you're familiar with him, Ron.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
awesome guy.
Oh, phenomenal.
Much nicer than he looks when he's dressed up.
So true. It's so true. Like I did a show on the Classic Sports Review where it was a show where the Raiders lost. That was the Tuck Rule game, and he showed up, for that. And my Evan Nolan, the Patriots representative, thought that maybe Wayne might just sort of reach out through the screen. Well, Wayne wouldn't, but the Violator might. But I mean, it's just like, what a phenomenal guy. Like the fact that Evan just kept saying, like, vote this man for the Hall of Fame, because it was a fan vote for that, and just great guy. Dave, I wore this, my Houston Oilers.
Yeah, love
I'm not
it.
talking anything Houston Oilers today, but I wore that for you.
No, and another time you were in a Texas Longhorns shirt, so that's
True.
why we're best friends now. So LHD on Sports, or Longhorn Dave on Sports. I write my own blog, lhd-on-sports.com. Down here in Houston, Texas, I grew up an Oilers fan, starting about 1980, the end of the Love Ya Blue era, so to speak, and then to the House of Pain era. So definitely interested in people like Ray Childress and Hayward Jeffries were part of my growing up, and then Charlie Hennigan from the really classic era when the Oilers had George Blanda and we're a championship team. So anyway, great to be here and great to meet you guys.
Thanks. The Schlegel Daddy.
Well, I noticed how you went from a great guy in Wayne to Dave, like you had to ease into me. I appreciate it.
That was not where I was going, but okay.
Got to call out, first of all, I believe there's only one of us that has like Wikipedia references made to them specifically, not in Hall of Fame. Yeah. In my research, I discovered that, you got a couple of different pops there and references to.
I do?
I do many things. Bullshit is not one of them.
I had no idea.
Anyways, my name is Jeff Schlegel, grew up in Illinois, lifelong Bears fan, just like my boy Jack. Yeah, we are here to champion Sterling Sharpe today for sure. That sounds odd, but it's true. Maybe some Joe Fortunato love. Anyways, I talk about sports on one of my YouTube channels. At the Jeff Schlegel is my Twitter handle. You can find out the information there if you're a wrestling fan, not the fake amateur stuff, but the real wrestling. Then you can follow me at OTRS Central is the Twitter handle. Outside of that, excited to be here. Hopefully Vinny's having fun as this Suffolk sports thing or whatever the hell it is. And yes, we got to figure out the plan for 2023 and get our boy taken care of.
Okay, and Jack.
Follow that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack, and like Jeff, I'm a Bears fan who will be advocating hardcore for a Green Bay Packer today, and that's just because that's what it is. Love being here, love talking with everybody, and we'll miss Vinny and Evan tonight, and Wayne, but the show goes on.
Yeah, so hopefully Vinny's going to be here a little bit later, but so if there's any fan base thinking like, why aren't you represented? I tried.
Yeah, we have a Colts fan now.
Yeah, you got a lot of people here.
You know, that's what that, and add that one.
I'm really working on trying to get somebody. Like I was so hoping that I was going to get somebody from Cincinnati, like a Bengals fan.
Oh yeah, where did our Bengals fan go? We had a Bengals fan.
Yeah, we did.
Where did
Yeah, but you only have like 4 or 5 of them to cycle through, so it's really hard to.
Okay, Jeff.
I
Jeff,
can.
we have to save our personal capital today. All right, we got a job ahead of us. Let's not blow it.
No, I was too busy working on a second Saints fan, even though there is no Saints.
Hey, they wear orange just like us, and I can advocate for both of their candidates pretty thoroughly.
There you go.
So backing
There's
up.
more than that.
Well, I asked everyone, and there might only be like 10 of us here right now, but there was actually over 20 people who voted for this. Some people who could not be here. Again, some of the people we mentioned. One person named Ken Crippen, who you probably are all aware of.
Very familiar with Ken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Awesome, dude.
Ken's votes were in this too.
Nice.
Ken could not make it. So I asked everyone to vote. And some people voted, some people couldn't, but that's okay. So the top 15 are going to be going through that we're going to be discussing. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, I said, what you get to make one person a super vote. So that way they were worth 2. So do you want to know who did not make it, or do you want to know who came close? How do we want to do this?
I say the ones that came close. Let's focus on the ones that missed the cut first,
Okay.
and then.
All right, so, so those who did not make it. So, all right, I'm going to tell you who did not make it in alphabetical order. First off, Yodeling Zeke. Did anyone get that? No?
Yeah, I got it. That was fun.
All right, thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
All right, so here are the people who did not make it. And we're not, I don't want to say close, but we're not part of a cut line because we were actually had an even 15. I'm shocked.
You have an even 15.
Usually
Right,
that
well,
does not happen.
Here's my question. How many people received votes? How many players
I'll
received
tell you in
votes?
a second. I'll tell you in a second here, Jack.
right.
119.
119. So I've been looking at numbers because I've been looking at Steve McMichael's case, and I just want to bring some numbers up so that everybody knows how hard this is. Although I think we probably all do. As we've said, there are 81 players currently not in the Hall of Fame who made an all-decade team between 1920 and 1990. So forget about the 2000s, 2010. 81 players. Then I think a lot of us are familiar with the draft that the 5 pro football historians did. They picked 35 seniors, 24 of whom are not among those 81. So there's 24 more guys who they drafted who aren't even on an all-decade team. So that puts you up to a 105. There are 10, and then add to that, there are 10 MVPs and 4 Defensive Players of the Year who are not yet on that list. So that's 119. And then there are a number of other guys who probably will get mentioned. I mean, Jeff and I are going to talk about Sterling Sharpe, and he's not even in that 119. So there are a lot of names here. I think there are a lot of great.
You're assuming that he got through.
I'm assuming. Well, I'm going to make the case regardless because I'm all ready to go. But
you said you're gonna get it.
You got your
You're gonna
speech
get it.
written.
I got it written. I got everything. Yeah, but it's a tough task.
So you're
Kirk,
saying that I will probably be dead before some of the players that I hope get in will get in. That's what you're
It's just a
saying.
numbers game, unfortunately. Yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah.
that old.
I
Yeah,
am that old. Yes, I'm.
All right.
Kirk, I just want to say with the all decade,
Mhm.
it's a real fine balance because if you're in a golden era for a position, like recent modern folks are getting in at wide receiver, even if they weren't all decade or if they were just a few all pros because they were in an era where it was concentrated. I mean, not to hearken to Gradishar, but like there was only one middle linebacker picked for all decade, it was before
Right.
the 3-4 really was there. So
Right.
you had Butkus, Lambert, and Singletary blocking him out from being all decade. And I'm not saying he should or shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm saying that happens to a lot of other players where what do? Wait 5 years to all decade players retire and just automatically put them in?
And I think
I
that's
mean,
really a big
that's-
part of what
that's-
this is, right?
Yeah.
Because so many of these people who we're going to be talking about, who I'm going to be sort of like, I don't want to say brushing aside because that's not really how I feel about this, but we had to eliminate a pile of people just to talk to 15, just for the
Right.
interest of time. And the next 15 out, I think all of us could probably make a Hall of Fame case for them. Regardless of
Who were the first 15 out? Like maybe that.
Who were the first? Who were the closest that didn't make it?
All right, should we just do that? Because rather
Yeah.
than say all
Yeah,
the
let's do that.
We'll be here all
let's do
night
that.
if we go through all of them.
Yeah, let's just focus
fair
on
enough,
that.
because we've done that. All right, so I'm just gonna give you the six people who were one vote away. Sound good?
Yes.
Ooh.
Perfect.
Okay. Dick Barwagon.
Barwagon, yes.
Okay. Someone who I voted for, Harold Jackson.
Oh, poor Harold Jackson. So close.
Collective groans.
Joe Klecko.
Oh,
Someone who, based on late votes, I thought was for sure we were going to be talking about them, but now we're not. Eddie Medor.
oh God. Yes.
All right. I
Medor
might
was
lose
great.
two people right now. Carl Mecklenburg. I'm sorry, guys.
No kidding.
Nice one for the benefit of the other.
The albino rhino.
Yeah. And the other person just one vote away, Del Shoffner.
Oh wow. Darn.
Yes.
The ones who came close, the second tier, let's just go through them really quick. Vernon Llewellyn, Bubba Baker,
Poor Bob.
Gino Capoletti, Joe Fortunato. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
That's racist.
How am I racist for this? Sorry.
Discriminating against the Italian. That's how terrible.
Sorry. I think Fox News infected this place here in Winnipeg. Did no one get that joke? Okay, fine. Let's move on before I bomb again. Cecil Isbell.
okay.
Yeah. Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Oh,
my
Did not
goodness,
make
how
it?
they-
He did not
I mean,
make it.
Wow.
Oh,
And he was a really good wide receiver. Like he was really a really good wide receiver. I mean, he was kind of like what you saw, like what you would see like years later with guys like Haywood Jeffries, who played for the Oilers when I was growing up, and Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardle. Like he reminded me, like I was watching the old footage of him years ago, and I was like, wow, he was really. I always thought he was in the Hall of Fame. I never
heck
knew
no.
he.
No, he's never
wasn't
even
in
been
there.
very close.
No, that's true. It's amazing how not close he's been.
Right, exactly. He's never even been close.
So Bob Kuechenberg.
Cooch.
Yeah. Walt Sweeney,
That's me. Okay.
Steve Tasker, Jim Tyrer, and
Jim
Lamar
Tyrer,
Parrish.
Never got
Commit
enough
one
to be
murder
close.
suicide and people never let you live it down.
Yeah, well, unless you're in Buffalo.
the-
Well,
Yeah.
the murder part.
He's in before.
Whatever.
Too soon.
I mean, you still have people that walk around with O.J. Simpson jerseys to this day in Buffalo.
Tattoos.
True.
Yeah.
All right, let's not go into my closet, but anyway.
Right.
All right, so let's go in the 15 that we do have. So it was an even 15 that qualified. I just to make this more fun, I'm not going to say the ranking. All right,
Yeah, do alphabetical.
this is our 15, and this is what we're going to run with. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. From the Denver Broncos, I think we know who we're talking about. It's Randy Gradishar.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Yes.
Okay. One of the most iconic in terms of longevity, Jim Marshall.
Marshall. Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay. From one of the most disrespected teams in the National Football League, the Cincinnati Bengals, we've got Ken Riley.
Yes.
Oh, I thought for sure you were gonna say Anderson, but
Well,
Riley,
no, I'm gonna say that
no.
too. That's next, Ken Anderson.
That's all right. Very good.
Yeah, Ken Anderson too. So
Wait, Kirk, who was the first one? I'm sorry.
that was my fourth. So
Randy
we have-
Gradishar, Jim
Randy
Marshall, Ken
Gradishar.
Riley,
Got it.
and
Okay.
Ken Anderson so far.
It was Riley. I think it was Riley. I think Riley was.
So we got
Riley.
Gradishar, Anderson, Jim Marshall, Ken Riley. Number 5 from I should have been an announcer. I would have been so good. From the former Washington Redskins to the Washington, whatever the hell they're called,
Commanders.
Commanders, whatever. Jacoby.
Oh, Big Joe from Louisville.
Mm. Former Super Bowl MVP, Chuck Howley.
Yes.
Good.
Finally.
The big man, one of my favorite nicknames ever, the Ox Emerson.
Ox Emerson. Yes. Also a Navy war veteran, hero, decorated war veteran.
We've got Maxie Baughan.
Yes.
Vinny should be happy.
Vinny should be happy. Well, Vinny's going to be happy on this one.
Here it comes.
Lavvie Dilweg.
There it is.
There, we knew that was coming.
All right. And for our friends in, believe it or not, Chicago. But there's something to it. As a Saints fan, I get it. I can't hate Cam Newton to a point. Ryan, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. Sterling Sharpe.
There it is.
There's justice
Oh,
in
yeah.
this world. Now the party.
Yes. Yes.
Here we go.
All right. Al Wistert.
Oh, Wistert. Okay, cool.
Yep. I wish I could get someone from Pittsburgh on this crew. And then they can talk about the greatness of LC Greenwood.
I can talk about that.
Oh, as
I
could I.
cannot believe
Doug.
LC Greenwood is not in Canton. Like I always thought LC Greenwood was in Canton.
No.
For some reason, I don't know, because it was like I was just like
He's never even
I
been a
would always hear these
finalist.
stories about the Steelers.
Never even been a
and it
finalist.
was
No,
like,
he
shit,
has been.
Everybody
He
from that
has.
those
Finalist
teams are
2
in there,
times.
because I know
Wait, what?
Lynn
That's right.
Swann is
That's
in
right.
there.
He's finalist twice.
Several times.
Terry Bradshaw, all these other guys, and I'm like, damn, LC Greenwood's not in the Hall of Fame.
No. So we got 3 left.
Yeah, 3 left.
From the Dirty South, we've got Tommy Nobis.
Finally. Mr. Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dave.
Hook 'em.
Which leaves us with 2. Well, stick 'em. We got Lester Hayes.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
And 1 more left. Roger Craig.
Oh,
Okay.
ah, okay.
So this is our 15.
I don't hate that.
Tough show for the Bears.
All right. So I'm horrible at sort of like sharing stuff like that. So Ted, can I
Can we eliminate Jim Marshall now?
Oh my God.
Wow.
All right.
You're going the
like, I
wrong
just wanna
way.
Bring up like a pair of the 15 here on the left here, and I don't quite know how to do that.
So you're trying to share your screen?
I can share a screen, but you don't want to see the crap that I've got.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can. I mean, it's not like it's
What do you need, Kurt?
well, okay. Well, I've got the 15 people that I just want us to all like. I've just said the 15, but I mean, I want us to sort of like be able to. I'll sort of like take a look at that.
So do you just want to attach it as a file in the chat?
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Yep.
Or start talking and I'll start up an Excel document and can add them all to the list.
Well, there we go.
Or
Yeah.
just go down the list and whoever wants to make the case just makes the case.
Yeah, we're gonna need an
You know.
Excel to copy paste.
I got it.
Dash out.
Start talking.
I'll go first. I usually don't.
I've
go
also
first.
been drinking excessively, so like
Oh,
everything's
nice.
slowly for me.
Jack, there you go.
Oh, there he
The
is.
background.
All right.
Jesus.
Wow,
Je-
look at that.
Jeff, you look
That elevated quickly.
overlooked.
All right. So I'm just gonna go ahead. Again, I usually hang back, but I'm kind of geared up for this one, which is unusual, I think, because this is a hated Green Bay Packer, except not hated because we respect the hell out of this guy. Or I don't know if I can talk to all Bears fans, but the only two Bears fans. Oh wait, Bill, you've got Chicago ties. You
Yeah, I live in Chicago. I grew up
Right.
in Virginia, but I watched Sterling's entire career from his time at South Carolina to the unfortunate end of his career due to that neck injury. And he's an absolute beast.
Yeah.
I still think the most snubbed Green Bay wide receiver is Billy Howden. But yes, I am a huge fan of Sterling Sharpe as well.
All right, there we go.
All right.
Just put that in the full chat.
Oh, there you go.
These are. Look what I figured out.
All right, so here we go. I sent a picture of this earlier. You don't have to do it. All right, but this is going to require a little participation. I'm going to log results here. It's on a little chart called "Is Sterling Sharpe a Hall of Famer?"
Love it.
All right. So unlike most of the guys on this list, many of whom are worthy, they went through an entire career, and for one reason or another, they were not voted in at the time when they would have been as a modern era. And now we're reevaluating, reassessing, etc. Sterling Sharpe stands out because he did not complete his career. So I'm just going to do some brass tack stats. All right. Drafted 7th overall, in between Tim Brown is drafted 6th, Michael Irvin drafted 11th, both Hall of Famers. Okay, I'm going to read his stats year by year, and then I'm going to stop. And you tell me when he is a Hall of Famer, all right? And I will mark down the results. Rookie year, Sterling Sharpe, 16 starts, 55 catches, 791 yards, 1 touchdown, sets a new Packer rookie receiving record. Is Sterling Sharpe a Hall of Famer after his rookie year?
No.
Anyone? No. Okay. And what I mean by is a Hall of Famer, I mean when you reach the point where you're like, yeah, this guy, all things,
Well, wait a second, hold on. You said Packers rookie receiving record.
Yeah.
For what? Because Billy Howden had more yards and more receptions.
Sorry, you're right. No, it was receptions. Sharpe finished with 55 catches, and Billy Howden had 13, albeit in a 12-game season. So he had receptions per game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And what I mean by is he a Hall of Famer, I just mean at what point do you start thinking, oh yeah, this guy's a Hall of Famer as long as he stays on this track?
Sure.
He's a Hall of
Gotcha.
Famer. All right, so rookie year, not yet. Okay. Second season, 1989. 90 catches, 1,423 yards, 12 touchdowns. That is first in receptions in the NFL, second in yards, second in touchdowns, first team All-Pro. Is second year Sterling Sharpe a Hall of Famer?
Trending that way, brother.
Trending that way.
Trending that way, sure.
Trending that way. No definitive. All I want is your definitive. If he got hit by a bus tomorrow, he's a Hall of Fame, which is basically how his career ended. Okay. Season 3, 1990, 67 catches, 1,105 yards, 6 touchdowns, Pro Bowler. By the way, he's doing this with Don Majkowski. Anyone yet? Anyone?
Magic Man.
That's going to be the only time that Don Majkowski has ever shown up on a Hall of Fame show. But let's
Shout out to Don Majkowski, but he's not worth the Tom.
He had a couple of really good
I think the
years.
J's silent.
Not disagreeing. I'm just
It
saying
is.
that's the first time.
That's how great he was. We're not even pronouncing his name right.
Mikowski.
All right.
University of Virginia, baby.
Jay
Here we
is
go.
silent.
Here we go. I know we got a long night. Here we go. Fourth year, 1991. 69 receptions, 961 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's his low. And we'll move right ahead to 1992. He gets Brett Favre, and what does he do? He goes for the receiving triple crown in 1992. He's all-pro first team for the AP. Obviously, he's a Pro Bowler. 108 receptions, 1,461 yards, 13 touchdowns. He leads the all-pro voting and has a new NFL record for receptions in a season at 108. So through 1992, got 389 receptions, 5,700 yards, 36 touchdowns. Is he a Hall of Famer yet? 1992?
Yeah. Before you go on, we've got another person who has arrived. Chris Meridian from the great state of Wisconsin.
Right on time.
Chris, right on time. All right, so just say yay if he's a Hall of Famer after 1992, which is 88, 89, 99, 192. 5 years now.
I need to see one more year.
Tom, you said yay?
No, I said no.
I said yeah.
Chris said yay. Okay. All right. Sixth season, 1993. First in the NFL in receptions, third in yards, third in touchdowns. That's 112 catches for a new single season NFL receptions record. 1,274 yards, 11 touchdowns. And the Packers go to the playoffs. In his first playoff game, he catches 3 touchdowns, including a game winner against the Lions. Does nicely the next week in a loss to the Cowboys. Year 6. Is Sterling a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I didn't know we could bring props.
Oh, step it up, Kirk. All right.
It's your show.
I hear 4 yeses.
My show.
And by the way, I'm a yes here in year 6. And year 7, he's 5th in the NFL in receptions. He is 1st in touchdowns with 18 touchdowns, 94 catches, 1,119 yards, 18 touchdowns. NFL leader, Pro Bowler. And just to put this in perspective, through 1994, Tim Brown has 4,700 yards. I'll round these off. 4,700 yards, 36 touchdowns. Michael Irvin, 6,900 yards, 40 touchdowns. Sterling Sharpe, 8,100 yards, 65 touchdowns. By the way, to this point in his NFL career, Sterling Sharpe has missed exactly 0 games. Is he a Hall of Famer? Year 7?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jack, I'm like this. I was a little kid when he was playing, and I vaguely remember him, but I would hear stories, and I'm like, this dude is like, that dude was amazing. Like, if you ever want to know about like a guy, like what could have been, like he is always like, oh my God, what could have been? Because we would have been, skip Donald Driver years later, we would have been talking about Sterling Sharpe he was on his way to being the greatest wide receiver in Packers history. He was on his way to being that, and he was on his way to Canton. It was just so sad that he had that injury.
Well, but it's not what could have been, because it was in this. I get what you're saying in terms of like the longevity of the career. But when you talk about years from 88 to 94, well, when you talk about those years from 88 to 94, like the great comparison here is Michael Irvin and Tim Brown are both Hall of Famers, and deservedly so.
Deserving Hall of Fame.
Unquestioned, was better in those 7 years. The only peer that he had was Jerry Rice.
I'm gonna finish this with a few other things and to bounce off of what Jeff just said. So we're looking at 7 years, 88 to 1994. The most first team all pros from a wide receiver was Jerry Rice with 6. Sterling Sharpe was second with 3. No one else had 2. League leaders in receptions or receiving yards or receiving touchdowns combined in those 7 years. Jerry Rice had 9. Sterling Sharpe had 6. No one else had 2. I mean, 2 overall combined.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
And if I could, just in
And
terms of
hold on, last thing.
Yeah.
Sterling Sharpe in 1994 didn't get to play in the playoffs because of his neck injury. He misses those playoff games. In 1995, they go to the NFC Championship game. In 1996, they win the Super Bowl. Sterling Sharpe, even if you say, oh, well, Sharpe on the 95 Packers, they beat the Cowboys, they win the Super Bowl. Sterling Sharpe, 2 years away from being a Super Bowl champion. By that point, even a conservative estimate of his statistics, I have him at 4th all-time in receptions, 4th all-time in receiving touchdowns, 11th all-time in receiving yards, and that would be if he retired for no good reason after 1996. He would have not just been in the Hall, he would have been the 6th, I believe it is, first ballot wide receiver Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and
but it goes beyond that with
So it's
Sterling Sharpe.
Hudson, Berry, Elworth, Warfield, Largent. He would have been 6, and Jerry Rice would have been a little bit after that.
Because there's one thing for those who are watching or listening.
There we are.
Jack's got something on his Twitter, on Read Jack Twitter, which I will say, it's one of the better threads that I've ever seen to sort of like explain why player X should be into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's what I wanted to sort of say earlier. To the point where, and I'm kind of glad, I'm really happy that Sharpe has gone through here, because I want to have a conversation with you directly, or not so much directly. I want everyone to sort of like jump in, because for me, one of my top 3 is Roger Craig. So tell me why you would take him over Roger Craig.
Easy, because Sterling Sharpe was vastly more dominant in his
Sterling Sharpe was
position.
an ass kicker. That's why. So
Yeah.
all I did here was I just wanted to chart it out, because I think for me, I call it the bus test. And I would say, when do you pass the bus test? The bus test is if you were hit by a bus today and you can never play your sport again, are you a Hall of Famer? And actually, I have a running thread every year when the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame does its inductions, and I've got a list of NBA players, and I just say, has player X, have they passed the bus test? If they get hit by a bus. 2 years ago, I think the vote was like 30% yes or something like that for Giannis, and then last year all of a sudden it's like 80% yes. All right, that's the bus test. Sterling Sharpe passed the bus test, I would say, at year 6, and then you're just saying, well, if he just kind of peters out for the remainder of his time and just kind of accumulates whatever. I mean, Sterling Sharpe was an ass kicker.
There's more to this, though, Jack. I even feel like you're underselling it. No,
I don't think I am.
I feel like you're underselling it.
My point is that
I'm trying to answer the Roger Craig question. Is what I'm
Please.
saying. When you look at Roger Craig relative to his peers was not at the same level as Sterling Sharpe.
Okay.
He just wasn't. And the numbers support that. When you look at somebody like a Sterling Sharpe, we talk about the guys with shorter length of career. You know, you could think about like a Tony Baselli. Sharpe's at that level higher.
Another one.
Oracle, you want to say Gale Sayers. When you talk about Gale Sayers, played 71 football games, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Sterling
Sharpe is significantly closer to Gale Sayers than to Roger Craig, Jeff.
Yes.
I'm with you there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So when you talk about like a Roger Craig was a good player, but when you look at the actual numbers and the fact that he played with other great talent around him, which in some ways helped him. So he's playing with the Joe Montanas and the Steve Youngs of the world. He's
Jerry
got
Rice,
Don Taylor on the outside. He's got Brent Jones at tight end, a great offensive line. Sterling Sharpe for the majority of his career, even when we bring up the Brett Favre piece starting in 92, Brett Favre was a backup to Mikowski before Mikowski got hurt in the Cincinnati game. So
Majkowski.
He had less than 3 years with Favre, and these were the developmental, not peak MVP Favre years.
Right.
So to Jack's point, like when you talk about the bus test, he had crappy quarterback play. Mikowski's only good season was 89.
Okay.
Like, if you go back and look at the percentage of the offense of what they did, the fact that they even made the playoffs by the time they got to 93 is in no small part due to Sterling Sharpe. You can say, well, they signed Reggie White. Who was that dude on offense? The dude on offense in those 92 to 94 seasons was not Brett Favre. It was absolutely Sterling Sharpe. He was the head motherfucker in charge of that offense. And when you think about like a Roger Craig, nice player. The 1,000-yard rushing and receiving season, that's nice. But when you talk about like peaks 5 years, let alone top 7, it's like there is no comparison.
I would put, in fact, if you remove postseason play, I would put, and just look at regular season and what they did, I would put Sterling Sharpe over Terrell Davis. I think Sterling Sharpe was.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that, because I think when you look at, Terrell Davis had like a 3-year prime, and he just petered out at the end because of injuries and concussions.
Right.
Sterling Sharpe was a fucking ass kicker from the time he got into that and put on the Packers uniform for the first time all the way to his final season. So you have 6 straight years of straight ass kicking.
Ass kicking. That's what it is.
That's the thing. And I'm looking at Don McJorskey's his stats. I mean, the 1989 season was definitely his best. Over 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 20 picks. But I also think, to me, Sterling Sharpe going to the Packers and him getting drafted by them and him having the success that he had in Green Bay, it kind of started the foundation for the modern Packers, the success that the Packers have had in both of our lifetimes. Like, I don't ever recall the Packers being bad in my lifetime, like insanely. We're talking about like Detroit Lions bad here. In my life.
Sorry, Ted.
That's a very easy question. If you ask Green Bay Packer fans, that are in their like 40s or older, you ask them who the greatest wide receiver they ever saw play for the Green Bay Packers. They're not going to say James Lofton, Hall of Famer, by the way. They're going to say Sterling Sharpe. Promise you. I would bet Vinny's entire paycheck on it. I'm so confident.
All $2 of it.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I mean, obviously Don Hudson's the best wide receiver ever played for Green Bay Packers. Obviously, he was so far ahead of everybody else. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think Sterling Sharpe is a Hall of Famer. My only issue with him is that, yes, the teams around him weren't great, but he played in one playoff game. He wasn't so great that he was able to transcend into a higher level. Like someone mentioned Terrell Davis. The only reason they won that Super Bowl was because of Terrell Davis, the best playoff running back of all time. So you have to add that in. And that's where the only knock that I have on Sterling Sharpe. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't care about his longevity. And I look at he was the best wide receiver in the league for 3 years. And that's enough for me to put him in, because he's the best of the best. So when you compare him with Roger Craig was a great player, but he wasn't ever the best running back ever in his career. Sterling Sharpe was. The only knock, and I'm not trying to knock Sterling Sharpe down. I'm just saying he wasn't good enough that made the team so much better that they were, contenders.
Well, but
and I know wide receivers,
wide
receivers aren't that, big of a position that does that. But let's face it, Don Majkowski, and I'm pronouncing it right, wasn't a horrible
Majkowski.
That's the only knock I have on him. Only knock I have on him. A great player. I vote for him. I wrote him down. He's definitely a Hall of Famer in my book. We're painting him as the greatest wide receiver of all time, kind of thing. I just want us to step back and say, okay, he's a great player, deserves to be a Hall of Fame. Let's not go overboard with how magnificent he was.
No, we're not saying that he's Jerry Rice or something like that, but he's the greatest, he's the best wide receiver on this list or on.
Okay.
Isn't he the only one on this list?
I would say my last.
So let's pivot to Cincinnati.
Okay.
We've got 2 Bengals here, and kudos to all of us. We've all voted for Bengals. We have no Cincinnati representation. I begged people on Twitter for this. I
talked about Ken Anderson.
I can make the case.
I can make the case for Anderson.
But
I can definitely make the case Ken Anderson.
But I guess the point is
everybody
that
can.
We've got Ken Anderson and Ken Riley. We have 2 Bengals here from a group of not just this crew, but from people like another 10. And unless I'm mistaken, none of us are Bengals fans, but we have mad respect for the people of Cincinnati, right? So,
I mean, we got one of the Bengals wrong, so it's okay.
I agree.
Yeah, we put it in the we got
I think
We got the wrong cornerback.
respectfully. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, but
I think Ken Riley deserves it, but I agree. Lamar Parrish is a better cornerback. I'll tell you right now. We're going to talk about Ken
He had the
Anderson.
higher heights. I would agree with the higher heights. I don't know
Ken
if he
Anderson,
was nearly
I-
as consistent.
I'll tell you that there was
well,
only
well,
one
before we
quarterback
go into more,
who has
if I could.
the.
'Cause,
Sorry, Kirk. Go.
No, I just want to say like one thing about just quarterbacks. Nobody got more than one vote.
Even Jim Plunkett.
Good.
Plunkett got one.
Well,
Makes
Boomer
sense.
Esiason got one, and nobody other quarterback got anything more than that.
Wow.
So
That sounds about right.
Ken Anderson is the quarterback. What? We voted for Bengals. Okay.
I want to say I voted for both David Fulcher and Max Montoya, but apparently you guys weren't on board with those two Bengals. So I've represented the Bengals, just not the Ken squared.
We wanted worthy Bengals. I'm kidding.
I do
You guys are
think
behind the
there's
times.
I do think in regard to the Cincinnati guys, there's another dynamic kind of in play. And I know if you're looking at the criteria and comparing stats and honors and that kind of stuff, it's a little different. You know, it's a lot more clinical when you're doing that. But the one thing with Cincinnati is, and I know maybe it shouldn't be a consideration, but only Anthony Munoz is in the Hall of Fame. And coming from Denver, John Elway was the first Bronco, like 43 years into the franchise, to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And they harken back to, it was kind of a backroom deal. Well, who do you want in?
Yep.
Floyd Little or Randy Gradishar kind of thing. But with the Bengals, to make sure that they get the proper representation and don't fall into the black hole, that's where Anderson and Riley really should get strong consideration, in addition to their credentials. I mean, 65 interceptions, Anderson leading the league in passing 4 times and being MVP. I mean, that speaks for itself. It's a team that just never got the recognition it deserved.
But we should avoid the bias of, because other players from the team haven't got in, that advances.
No, I understand, but that's a reality. That's all I'm saying is with some teams, like a team that's been in effect for what, 50 years, has one player in the Hall of Fame.
Been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
So-
and that's it. That's the only thing.
So I have a question then, and I think this is something that we should address with each guy, and I think it's important, and it's something we've talked about in the chat, and it's an obvious one for Sharpe. And the question is, why was this person not elected as a modern era candidate? And the answer for Sharpe is
Several
obvious.
issues.
So for people who know it better than I do, I want to hear, why wasn't Ken Anderson elected as a modern era? Why wasn't Ken Riley? And I know what Paul has talked about, that the committee jagged it, where they were not electing, like, let's call it like a full class on many occasions. But still, there are some guys who still got in and others who didn't. Maybe the full class would have taken care of a lot of these dudes. I'm sure it would. But I just want to hear the specifics from people who know what kept Ken Anderson out and what kept Ken Riley out.
Jack, I'll tell you this. I think it always comes down to politics, and I think it always comes down to politics. It comes down to, how some writers think. And here's the thing: I believe you and I are both part of we're of a younger generation, but we both love history. And the thing is, he had over 30,000. Anderson had over 30,000 yards passing. He had almost 200 touchdowns. He was an MVP in 1981. He was the first team All-Pro in 1981. 4-time Pro Bowler, twice passing yard leader champion, 4 times passer rater leader, and 3 times completion percentage leader. And to give you an idea, just in terms of how many, just in terms of the most titles, there are only 6 that have more passing percentage titles than Ken Anderson. Sammy Baughan, Lynn Dawson, Drew Brees, Joe Montana, Steve Young, and Bart Starr. And of course, we know Drew's going to get into the Hall of Fame, but 5 of those 6 are in the Hall of Fame. This guy had 3. And I feel like if you have 3, if you led the league in passing percentage 3 times, if you've been an MVP, you should be in the Hall of Fame. And I think it really boils down to politics. It boils down to perception, because everyone always has this perception of the Bengals as a losing franchise. But no, I disagree. I call bullshit, because up until Mike Brown took over the team, the Bengals had a really, I would say, a pretty decent kind of run before Paul Brown died.
But that's not really answering the politics question, though. Right? Like, why are you getting to the politics?
I think he answered it.
You're right. I think, are the politics related to the fact that he was a quarterback that played in the 70s in an era of Bradshaw, Staubach, and Stabler, quarterbacks, by the way, that Anderson's numbers are better than all of them.
Yep.
Like, that's a fact.
I think that's really
he was a quarterback.
Well,
hold on. Was it because he was a quarterback that didn't win a Super Bowl the one time he got there? Like, I think that's what we're trying to understand is, like, what's the politics there? You might be right, but is that the politics?
I think that's really what boils down to, because he got to a Super Bowl, he didn't win it, and he was overshadowed by guys like Bradshaw. Like, when you think of Bradshaw, he played for a legendary team, like the Irons, the Steel Curtain. You know, when you think of Kenny Stabler, he played for this iconic team of the 1970s. The Bengals wasn't like that iconic team of the 1970s. So I think him not playing for a team that was like iconic kept him out of canon. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And because I'm just saying, like, if you look at the numbers of those 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that we referenced from that era, his numbers are better. Like, that's not opinion. That is like statistical fact. And you could say not only were his numbers better, it's not his fault he didn't get to play on the same team as Mean Joe Green and Lambert and Jack Ham and Mel Blount and Donnie Shell on defense and Franco and Swan and Stallworth, Webster, etc. Like, the fact that he was able to put up better numbers than these guys with inferior talent. Good Bengals team during that time, but they were not great, to your point. Like, he had a juggernaut in the AFC. You even had a year where the Orange Crush defense went to the Super Bowl. The fact that he was able to produce better numbers in that era than guys that are in the Hall of Fame, I think, to me, Jack, you were asking, like, what kept him out? Like, that to me is more of the case of why he should be in. And it's been a gross injustice that he hasn't been, because there have been inferior quarterbacks and done.
And it's not just politics. It's not like these voters are keeping people out specifically because they have some sort of bias. It's not politics necessarily all the time. Face it, they're human. They get it wrong. They get voting awards wrong all the time. And I can point to several of them. So it's not that they're like, I don't want this person in because I don't like the Cincinnati Bengals. They get it wrong. And they get it wrong early, and it perpetuates through somebody's career. So, it's not, I just want to point out, it's probably not because they're maliciously trying to keep somebody out. They're not perfect. They vote wrong. They have other ideas. They've watched somebody else a little bit more. I'm going to have to jump off here pretty quick, but I just want to say one thing about Ken Anderson. If you adjust for era, passing stats for era, which I have done, Ken Anderson is the only player eligible for the Hall of Fame that is not in the Hall of Fame that has had at least 4 top 100 seasons of all time. Only one not in the Hall of Fame. He's deserving of the Hall of Fame, regardless of whether the voters get it wrong or not.
Okay.
Jack asked about Sterling Sharpe. I think it's a pretty easy answer, Jack. It's unfortunate, but for many, many years, the voters would not put in short career players.
Right. The old 10-year rule.
Some of these names we're looking at the list here, if you go back and look at way back, guys like Ox Emerson and some of those other guys, it's the same problem. These guys played in the 30s and 40s. Some of these guys have several first-team All-Pro all decade, but they only played 8, 9, 10 years. So it's unfortunate. It's only been recent that the voters have started to open the doors for senior and or modern players besides a guy like Yale Sayers with 9 years. And I think when it comes to Riley, it's the issue we've already pointed out. It's Riley and Parrish, Riley. And I think the voters have never really rallied around the same things that we're arguing, which was the better player. There's case we made for both. And as a result, they both sort of get canceled out when you're trying to come down to a very short list. And, for decades, they were only electing one senior. For a while, for 15 years, it was two seniors. Once they're in that, that seniors pool, we've talked about 100 plus, right, Jack? It's crazy. I mean, getting out of there is pure luck. Or one or two guys really advocating for you. And I think these guys, often people have told me it's not the positives that get players in, it's the negatives that keep them out. And they make negative arguments to push a guy's aside, and then they just never rise up again.
Yeah, interesting.
It's unfortunate but that's what's happened. And I'm not saying the arguments are legitimate. I'm just saying that debate, right, among the voters, the 9 of them, only 5 traditionally have actually selected a senior. That's all changed now. But that's come down to that fact that they've pulled negatives out, and some of these guys just get pushed to the side, even though the arguments for some of them, like Anderson and Riley and Sharpe and many others we're going to talk about, are very, very good. They just don't level, the argument, the debate among the voters just never, rose them to the top.
And
I think for Anderson, it's easier to say because you see it a lot. He didn't win a Super Bowl. Just total crap and total unfair. Because if you're going to say that, well then, why was Dan Marino ever put in the Hall of Fame? Why was Fran Tarkenton ever put in the Hall of Fame? They have Hall of Fame worthy cases. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Jeff. Because 6-7 years ago, our good friend Vinny is going to make a giant case for Matt Ryan, and he's going to be. There's a lot to what he's going to say. An awful lot of that. I'm moving forward.
Does Tom want to take care of anyone before he leaves? Is there anyone on the list that Tom wants to take care of before he leaves?
Well, I was going to say here, I think.
No, I think Randy Gradishar is covered.
I'm going to say, for the interest of time,
What made you think that?
What I think we should do, originally, Ted and I were talking beforehand. We were just saying, going to 9 to 5. I think at this point with this crew that we have, I don't see why we couldn't just come up with our 3. So let's just over the next 20 minutes talk a little bit more, and then we're all going to vote for our 3. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it, man.
Or do we want to try?
Because there's a few people that I want to talk about here.
Can I just?
Yeah, is there anybody we could remove first? Because I wonder, if we whittle it down, 8 or 9, and then go down to 3.
Possibly, Jack, because someone on Tommy Nobis, because I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of hype about his candidacy for a long time now. Hasn't gotten in, but I mean, you got Sam Mills in there, so I mean, you might as well start putting Nobis in and everybody else at this point.
But Gradishar,
anybody that played inside linebacker is eligible now.
Yeah, it feels like they're better. Dave, you're the Horns fan here, so maybe you could speak to Nobis, but better linebackers on the list, even with the 15 that we have. There feels like there's better linebackers than Nobis.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Let's just vote on our first. Let's vote on our 3 and just see if we're close. If everybody votes for their 3, and then if we whittle it down to 6, then we don't have much time left. Instead of removing people, let's just say, let's give us our top 3, and we'll figure it out.
All right, sounds good. Who should we all send that to? Oh God, please don't say me.
I'll take them. I'll take them.
All right, thanks, Jack.
So just DM you, Jack, on here.
No.
That's gonna be a little difficult for me. I'm on the phone.
You can send them to me. I got to
just say your top 3. Just tell us. We don't have to make a secret ballot or anything.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. So
let's just go down the list and just say it.
Okay,
just start from Kirk and go down the list.
We'll do that.
Hold on.
Hey,
let me share my screen, and then I'll log them right here.
Oh, Ted's gonna.
Thank God, because that's what I'm shitty at.
Host disabled. Host has to undisable the participant screen sharing.
What do I have to do?
You have to enable screen share.
God damn it.
Can I ask a quick question? Was Tom Sestak on the 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
He got 3 votes overall.
Well, no, did he make the 15?
No.
Oh, he didn't make the final 15.
The list is in the chat if you want to take a review of it.
Ted, what am I doing here, brother?
You need to allow me to screen share.
Evan always helps me with these things.
Yeah, well, you had it at one point, so I don't know what you changed.
I changed nothing. I'm an idiot.
Well, we
And-
could always just write it down on a piece of paper too.
Yeah.
If someone has a pen and paper, we'll just go down the list and just say it.
All right, paper. Okay, I don't know what paper is.
What's paper?
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
I'll just call on you, and you give me your 3, and I'll put them in the sheet, and I'll add it up. I got it right,
Perfect.
ready to go.
I got it too.
Okay.
Right on.
All
Okay,
right.
now-
You need a two-party verification. I don't
That's
trust
right.
you guys with your biases. I want 2 different people.
I just
Fair
put it
enough.
together. I
Jack and I
never
got
said
it.
that I was
All right.
good at it.
Yeah, they're saying it out loud. It's okay.
Okay.
All right.
If you want to know what the final 15 is, go to the chat. It's one of the first messages on here, the list of players that we're talking about. It's Gradishar,
Okay.
Anderson, Howley,
All right,
Dilweg,
so
Sharpe, Craig,
let's
Nobis,
go-
Hayes, Riley, Greenwood.
Cool.
Wistert.
All right, so let's go
blah, blah, blah.
from my thing top to right. So like, sorry, who's logging?
I am.
Jack,
Jack's
and
logging?
a second verification.
Okay,
I got
so
it.
I'll
Alright,
call. I will
Second
call on you.
verification. All right.
I will call on you. Kirk, give me your 3, please.
Okay, I'll give you my 3 right now. I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you Sharpe, Chuck Howley, and Elsie.
Got it. Ted, give me your 3, please.
All right, I've got Gradishar. I've got, let's go with Wistert. And let's go with, oh man. We'll go with Howley.
Did we lose? We lost Tom, right?
No, I'm here.
Tom's here. Okay, Tom, give me your 3.
Yeah, it's a tough list. Obviously, a lot of these people deserve to be in. So, but my list is Gradishar, Howley, and Greenwood.
Great. Jeff, give me your 3.
I'm going to go with Sterling Sharpe, Ken Anderson, and Lavvie Dilweg.
Great. Bill, give me your 3.
Ken Anderson, Randy Gradishar, and Kenny Riley.
Wonderful. Chris, give me your 3.
Sterling Sharpe, Lavvie Dilweg, and Randy Gradishar.
Ran out of package there. I hear you, buddy. All right. Ron, give me your 3.
Well, Randy Gradishar,
Yep.
Ken Riley,
Yep.
and Maxie Baughan.
Maxie Baughan.
Got it. Ryan, give me your 3, please.
I'm going with Ken Anderson, Jim Marshall, and LT Greenwood.
All right. Dave, give me your 3.
Yeah, I would preface this by saying, but making a case that a guy is a Hall of Famer is okay, because there's all these guys should be Hall of Fame. So you say, oh, he's better than this guy that's in the Hall of Fame, makes it difficult because you're like, so don't take it wrong that I don't pick somebody you like, but I'm gonna go with Ken Anderson. I think you guys convinced me with the numbers compared to some of those other 70s guys, 70s, 80s guys. Tommy Nobis, I didn't really get a chance to tout him, but beast in the middle, played for a team that wasn't on TV a lot and never made the postseason that much. And then Joe Jacoby, I think, one of the Hogs.
Big Joe.
Got it. Paul, please give me your 3.
Gradishar, Howley, Dilweg.
Got it. And my 3 is Sharpe, Greenwood, and Hayes.
I like the Hayes pick. That was a shortcut for me.
So let me add these.
Let me post mine, Jack, and see if you agree.
Greenwood. Yep. Hold on.
I thought in your country you're not really teaching math anymore.
Ooh, we've got is that a 3-way tie?
For second, third, fourth, fifth.
4-way tie for second.
Nice.
Awesome. So
Nice.
there's
Well,
our
we
five.
narrowed it down.
Jack.
That was the right way to do it. We
Just
narrowed
give
it
Jack
down.
a second to verify.
All right, so at this point, so if we've got we've inducted Randy Gradishar as our senior.
Sounds right.
Right.
So we've got Ken Anderson, Sharpe, Elsie.
Good. I'm going to get another cut.
and Chuck Howley. All right, so we've got to come up with 3. Let's just call this what it is. We've got to eliminate 2 of this 4. We have to.
But we're making the declaration that since Gradishar was the top vote getter,
Right, Gradishar's in. We can
Gradishar's
lose
in.
him all.
So
And now
we
it's the
heard
battle between.
we heard advocates for
Really, don't get to
Anderson
get-
and we heard advocates for Sharpe.
Sharp.
I'd like to hear
Yeah.
some advocates for Greenwood and Howley, just
Well,
to make it so that
I
we
mean-
have all 4 discussed with some pros and cons.
When Tom Landry was asked about the greatest linebackers he'd ever coached, and it should be mentioned, he coached guys like, Sam Huff. He said that Howley was the smartest. He said that Howley was the one that had the best ability to do everything he was asked to do in the defense that they ran. And he had some pretty good linebackers, right? I mean, this is Tom Landry we're talking about. Obviously, you have from the same school as Sam Huff, and people who saw both of them play. Some people preferred Huff. I'm not going to pretend that there weren't people who preferred Huff, but Howley was better in coverage, right? Howley was probably just about as good against the run. He just wasn't as flashy. There was no documentary called The Violent World of Chuck Howley, unfortunately. I think that worked against him a little bit. And once again, he plays on a defense where there's lots of big names and lots of players that everyone sort of knows. I mean, Bob Lilly's on that team. I mean, there's so many great players on that team.
Yeah.
But Chuck Howley ran that defense for a very long time. And still the only player from a losing team to be a Super Bowl MVP, the first defensive player to be a Super Bowl MVP. And the game he had, right, in that loss is, I don't know if there's been a better all-around defensive performance in any of the Super Bowls than the performance that Chuck Howley had. I mean, we overrate the Super Bowl. I'm saying that. I've said that before. But if we're going to overrate it for other people and put people in the Hall of Fame for their Super Bowl performances, why are we going to not do the same thing for Chuck Howley, who was an incredibly dominant player in, not the most exciting Super Bowl I've ever seen, but my God, was he amazing. And every time a play had to be made, he was the guy making it on this incredible defense we keep talking about with all these great players. Who's the guy making all the plays? Chuck Howley.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
No, just to piggyback on that,
Yeah.
you think middle linebacker, you think Butkus, you think Ray Lewis, violent plays at the point of attack.
Yep.
But guys like Howley and Gradishar just made plays and
Yep.
like 15 tackles a game,
Right.
like it was nothing.
Right.
And we're always like they were in the blimp above the field and they knew where the ball was going. I mean, and and back then to be losing player on the Super Bowl to be MVP.
And
So
I mean,
Howley was not a middle
linebacker.
linebacker.
Yeah,
Howley played
Leroy
outside
Jordan was.
linebacker on the weak
Leroy
side.
Jordan played middle.
Oh,
Yeah, he played.
Yeah,
he
Leroy
played
Well,
Jordan.
it's the same style, like the Jack Hams.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah, he
about a
was
guy
good.
who was five times first team All Pro.
Yep.
I think 6 or 7 Pro Bowls when Pro Bowls meant something.
When they meant something.
And not only was he the best player in Super Bowl V, he was actually the best defensive player in Super Bowl VI.
Yep.
He had a fumble recovery. Obviously, wasn't the MVP for that game, but here's a guy who was the best defensive player on back-to-back Super Bowls,
Yep.
and I would suspect that's very rare in NFL history. His career and his profile gets dinged because half his career was in the 60s.
I was about to
and
say
his
that.
later half was in the 70s, so
Yep.
he falls into this group, right? He should have been on the 60s all-decade team, but he
Yes.
wasn't, and that's what has hurt his case. People wonder,
And
like,
it's really
why
just,
isn't he already in?
it's really
That's
just
why.
those 2 seasons. If 1970 and 1971 for him were 1968 and 1969, you move everything back 2 years. He's on
He'd be in the Hall of Fame 30 years
Yeah.
ago.
So I
Right.
have one question because I don't know, and I think it's going to be important as we look at these guys. What was Chuck Howley's peak at his position league wide? Was he the best at his position at some point?
I think it was close too.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was voted, he was voted as being the best at his position like 4 times in a
4
row.
times in a row.
Yeah, five
He was a
times,
five
actually, I
time.
think.
He was a five-time
Yeah.
first team All Pro and a one-time second.
Yeah, so I mean that tells you that at least the voters back then thought he was the best at his position
Yes,
for
because
5
he
years in a
was.
row. His
Right.
peak was 5 years. 5 years, and I mean we're putting people in the Hall of Fame that had a peak for 2 or 3 years. I mean this is
Yes.
5 years.
No, I agree.
He was the
I agree.
best. Yeah.
I want to throw something more, if I could, just on Anderson. and again, it's not necessarily that I'm advocating for him, but if we are acting as if we are the ones for the real Hall, does it mean something to put someone to Ken Anderson in for the greater good of the Bengals?
Well, I mean, that's
can
a
make
fun
the
thing
case
to
without
debate,
that.
but I just
That's a
want to look at
consideration.
how good he was, how he's able to be that good for that long, and only for maybe 2 or 3 years did they have top 5 or 6 talent around him. Mostly he played with guys who were guys, and he still elevated them. Like we always talk about quarterbacks elevating the players around them. Boobie Clark was a good player, but he made him look better, right? Isaac Curtis was a good player, but he made him look better. I mean, these guys aren't garbage, but they aren't as good as, I mean, you're talking about super teams in the 70s. I mean, that's not Drew Pearson. That's not Lynn Swann. That's not John Stallworth. I mean, these are solid players. He's making them better. And he did it for a very long time against the super teams. He's playing in that non-salary cap era where teams, especially if a team drafts really, really well, they can be great for 10, 11 years. And he's managing to compete at a high level against these teams that are stacked. I mean, you can't have teams like this. Like, it's impossible to have teams that good. He's played against better teams than, frankly, most quarterbacks will ever conceive of playing against. Teams with double-digit Hall of Famers or guys that are double-digit guys who certainly could be Hall of Famers regularly he played against. And to look at in the dead ball era, as I call it, of NFL quarterbacking, when 58% would have been like, whoa, you're doing something. He's 70.5. I mean, it's insane what he did in 1974 when you could still put your hands on receivers, put your feet on receivers, put everything on a receiver pretty much. And he's managing to do this. I'm shocked and amazed that there hasn't been like a general revolt amongst people to put this man in the Hall of Fame. I was a young Steelers fan. That was the one guy who scared me, right? Is Ken Anderson. I pretty much felt good. I mean, Stabler's a good guy. I mean, really good quarterback. But he didn't scare me the same way that Ken Anderson did. Ken Anderson terrified me as a young Steelers fan. I was like, oh, crap, we got to play Anderson again. Even when we beat them, I didn't feel, I mean, like, I always felt nervous till like no time was left on the clock.
So let me ask you this, Bill. You grew up in that era? Was he
That's one of the best metrics.
So I think there's even more metrics. Statistically, we've confirmed he's better than the Bradshaws, the Staubach, like quarterbacks of his era. So when you talk about the eyeball test, you grew up watching.
I grew up watching. Twice a year we had to play them, and I never felt good. Did.
Right.
Even when we beat them, my stomach was
He scared
you
more than a Bradshaw did on his own. And to Kirk's point, you're asking, like, does the Bengals thing?
No, I'm just asking. I'm just opening. Like, I don't know.
What I'm saying is, I think
like a cherry on top. But like the things he actually just flat out did as a quarterback were more than enough in my mind.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is that the piece about the Bengals consideration that I think puts him over the top is he had Jags, just another guys. He had a lot of guys around him. He didn't
a lot of guys on his team.
Bob Trumpy.
All right.
So when I think the Bengals spin is
okay,
that.
So like for the
that
interest of time, because there's a couple people who have to like log out.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We're almost there, which is good on us. We've managed to do this in 90 minutes. We've already inducted Randy Gradishar.
Yeah.
And you should listen to us because I'm awesome. We're awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, you want to talk about Greenwood? I want to hear about
someone needs to present Greenwood.
I want to chime in on
briefly.
Greenwood.
We can do it quickly. I don't mean
let's do that.
I can talk Greenwood too.
I think the thing is, like, one of the great things is, like, you always got to have like 2 or 3 anchors on defense. You know, we talk about, you know, we always talk about the purple people eaters with Alan Page and Carl Eller and Jim Marshall. And when you think about that defense with the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys like, we know about Joe Green, we know about Joe Green, but without LC Greenwood, there's no mean Joe Green. And I think LC Greenwood deserves to be inducted. He deserves his flowers. You know, I know he gets lost in the shuffle, and someone just said this sixth best player from that defense, and I kind of, you know, I wasn't even alive during that time, but I think, you should give. I think I would give some consideration for being being up there with Gladys.
Yeah, I
How
just want
many
to add
Hall of
something.
Famers did the Steelers need from that 70s team? There's already 5 in there. I'm
No,
not trying
no.
to be funny here. Like, I think it's a consideration is
It
Elsie
shouldn't
Greenwood was
be.
a really good player,
Was.
but how much was he helped by the fact that, let's not kid it, Mean Joe Green was that dude on that
He was
defense.
that
Everything that franchise of the
Coca-Cola
70s
was.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that
they could've-
franchise started because of Mean Joe Green. When you think about him getting drafted in 69, it wasn't Bradshaw that was the starting point. It was Mean Joe Green and the hiring of Chuck Noll that year. Like, Mean Joe Green was the thing that everything ran off of. There's plenty of, I think, for Pittsburgh people that would say Jack Ham was the better linebacker. Jack Lambert got more attention because of the position that he played. Then you have Mel Blount, changed the game in terms of how you could defend because of Mel Blount. Donnie Shell in Greenwood, I always kind of viewed in the similar bucket, where if one got in, the other one might have to wait a little while. Like, it feels like you put in an Elsie Greenwood, it's to the detriment of a guy of Chuck Howley, who had less defensive talent around him, and you could argue had even greater resume.
I think Elsie Greenwood was dominant, and I mean, if you saw Super Bowl IX, he played volleyball with Fran Tarkington. It was a pretty funny situation, but Greenwood dominated. I mean, he just got bypassed because the Steelers had so many guys in.
He got lost in the sauce.
Donnie Shell. I mean, it was an era where it was vertical passing, and that's, because the Steelers were so good. That's why Bill Walsh had to come up with the West Coast offense, and that's why Ken Anderson's stats, people didn't know what to make of them compared to like the Blonde Bomber and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's how dominant like Greenwood was. I mean, they didn't keep track of the sacks back then. It's criminal. He's not been in the Hall of Fame, and I think he's a 4-time finalist. I mean, it was
6.
multiple 6. Yeah.
6-time finalist.
So it's not like he's someone who's on the periphery I mean, he's better than Donnie Shell. I mean, I love Donnie Shell, but
Okay, so
Elsie Greenwood
so at this
dominated.
point, can we just pick 2?
So we just pick 2 at
Everyone
this
vote
point?
for 2.
Okay.
Like from the
Vote for
remaining
2.
4. So Jack, you're gonna collect that if that's all right.
Yeah. All right, here it is. Okay.
No pressure.
We're going
No.
on Anderson, Howley, Sharpe, and Greenwood.
Right. We're voting for 2 of them.
Andrew. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yep.
So just 2 of the 4.
Anderson, Greenwood. Yep. Sharpe, Howley. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just go in. So Jack, if you can collect it, I'll just go in order, like from my counterclockwise from what I see. Ted.
Anderson and Howley.
For me, it's Howley and Greenwood. Paul.
Howley and Sharpe.
Tom.
Howley, Greenwood.
All right. Jeff.
Sharpe and Anderson.
All right. Dave.
Howley and Anderson, guys.
All right. Ron.
Anderson and Greenwood.
All right. Bill.
Anderson and Howley.
Jack, you're inputting yourself.
Yeah, I had Sharpe and Greenwood.
Okay. Ryan.
I'm going with Anderson and Sharpe.
And the hammer goes to Chris.
All right, we go with Sharpe and Howley.
All right. What are the totals, sir?
Oh, wow.
Wow,
close.
it's very close. It's Howley at 7,
Yep.
Anderson at 6,
Yes.
Sharpe at 5, Greenwood at 4.
Okay.
I had Greenwood at 5, but that's, yep, exactly right.
I had it the same way you did, Jack. This could be some Chicago shenanigans is what Ted might accuse us of.
It doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
Cook County voting is always a little shady.
Like, I'll say
Creative is the verb we prefer, but
we like
okay.
For your country, does that mean red state or blue state? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think you guys were right because my numbers were off one. There we go.
All right, so we have inducted Randy Gradishar and Jack, the other 2.
we've inducted Chuck Howley and Ken Anderson.
Oh man. I wish there
That's a
was a
good
way.
evening's work.
Yep.
I wish there was a way we could just tell Ken Anderson, congratulations, you've just been inducted into our Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, somebody should draft an email.
All
Get 'em on
right,
here.
hold on, guys.
He's on Twitter.
Hold on here. So that means, because we said originally we were going to do 9. So that means that we
No,
would
we were
grab-
going to bring up to 9 and then do 3 total.
But I like the idea of having 9 because that's what they'll look at.
No, I'm not going backwards.
No, 3. I know we want to get Sharpe in there, bro.
No,
1,
3 is
2,
fine. No,
5.
Jack, you've done this to me before.
We'll have to do this next year.
Right, we'll do it again next year.
Like this
Billy
actually
Sharpe
feels
will
like a
still be
group
around.
of, this feels like a group of 3 that we would, like if they actually announce these 3, like it'd be one of those, yeah, feel good about all 3 of those.
All right,
I
Anderson,
feel really good
Howley,
about those
Gradishar.
3.
We
Let me-
did well, gentlemen.
Okay, let me just make one point. Okay, we've got our 3.
Yes.
We have then 2 more in Sharpe and Greenwood
Mhm.
that would make 5. The third one there would be Dilweg, who's the only one who had 3 votes in the original. Okay, so that's 6. Then we had Riley at 2. He's the only one who had 2. So then you just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys left with 1. Everybody pick 2, and we get a group of 9. Because here's my point. Because from an aspect of looking ahead, everyone's going to be talking about these classes as like, oh, we can get up to 9 in over 3 years. Let's get a number of 3 and let's get a number of 9. We're close. All you have to do is vote for 2 of the
I think we
following
need
people.
to evaluate. There's some pre-1960s guys, and the guys we have like in the top, other than Dilweg, are all like more modern. I mean, I know Howley was 60s, early 70s, but
I'm just saying, here's who's left, okay? Hayes, Baughan, Wistert, Nobis, Jacoby, Marshall. I think we know enough about them to vote for 2, and we'll see, and we can fill out the 9. That way you get a 3 and you get a 9.
Do we want to vote a couple more in, is what we're saying?
2 more. It's only 2 because we've already settled numbers
Okay,
4,
let's
5.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
It's 3 in and then some sort of 9 pool that he's talking about, I think.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
not saying like the boss, like I said, well, these 9 guys get in. It's like we got.
No,
this-
it's 3 in, and it's like a here's our look ahead.
And here's our, right, okay, I got it, yeah.
Yeah, we
Got
started
it.
with a list of over
So
120
essentially, you're
people.
creating our finalists and then the ones that get in. I got it,
Correct.
yeah.
I think
Okay.
the one challenge I would have with that, Jack, is that if we have a smaller pool to select from, would some folks change some of their votes?
It doesn't matter. We can change next year.
It
I'm just
does
saying
matter.
it's an example of
It does matter.
no, it's an
No,
example
yes,
of
it does.
looking ahead because you're gonna have 9 probably maxed out over the next 3 years total.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure we will, but I'm trying to say, like, if you're talking how we would select those other ones, like, makes sense if you're saying like you would advance Sharpe Greenwood because they got the
I did say that.
2 votes. Yeah, you
I
said,
did say that.
right.
gotta
What I'm
jump
saying, though,
off.
is when you talk about the ones that got 1 vote, and then you have the ones with 2.
There is no. You didn't listen. There's only one guy with 2 votes. Dilweg.
I just said that, Ken Riley. Yeah.
Ken Riley,
Just
right?
said
So
that.
there's 6 guys. I just chatted them. There's 6 guys who got 1 vote.
Right.
And
So
we're
you're
just
not
picking
listening
2 of
because
the
what I'm
6.
saying is that would folks have voted differently if they weren't picking from the larger group of 15?
Who cares? We're here. Let's get a list of 9.
I feel
Doesn't
this is
matters,
a
like-
episode.
Hey, I just put mine in the chat. Those are my
Thank you.
votes. You guys can settle it. I got to jump off.
Hey,
It's great talking with you.
man with the life.
I'm about
Look
to-
at him, look at him.
I'm about
I
to
got a
call
life
Thomas.
guy.
Take care, everybody.
No, thanks so much.
No, seriously, take care. Thank you very much. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was a
Have a
lot of
good
fun.
evening.
Take care.
He's going to bask in the Gradishar glow tonight.
He does have that
I
gratitude.
don't know. Is this an ending? It's an ending. That's enough.
Okay,
Hayes
sure. I'll
and
toss
Jacoby.
mine in the chat. I guess that's what we're doing now.
Yep, and I'm logging them.
Joe Jacoby? I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like 2nd team all decade?
All right. God damn it. All right, fine.
All right. That means Ken Riley gets in. Oh, all right.
Is that so bad? Oh,
It just feels like we're rewarding the wrong Bengal. corner is all I'm saying.
They're both really great. I'd love to see
David
them
Fulcher.
both get
We
in.
tried though.
And
We
Lamar
tried.
was also a terrific special teamer. Like we were talking about Billy White Shoes Johnson. Look at Lamar Parrish's return numbers the next time you get a little bored.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not even just the corner piece. Like you look at the entire.
Sure. No, I'm
Really
very,
is nothing.
once again, I
Yeah.
watched both guys' entire
Yeah.
careers.
One. I'm only going to vote one because I only feel strongly about one more.
Wow.
Let me look.
Did mine come through?
It's my site. I can do this.
And you need my vote.
Yeah, I see yours, Ron, Wistert and Baughan.
Thanks. I'm using my phone for the chat,
Yeah.
so it's like a little tricky
Gotcha.
with the video in that.
But when you're fan of the year, you can do that.
Well, I tried.
That's how you get rewarded.
Well, I had to do, we actually had Zooms with different people in the NFL, and I had this crazy shirt for the holidays, and Roger was almost falling out of his chair
Ah,
for the time we did it with the commissioner.
Heck, if this
Straight-
leads to us
straight
putting Lester Hayes in, then it was all worth it.
Why is it that I wish that he fell out of his chair than to a level?
Whoever,
good
we're
dude.
not doing
He's a really good dude.
Emerson for one of the votes. It's between Marshall, Jacoby, Baughan, Wistert, Nobis, and Hayes.
And there's
Milkshake
Wistert,
brings the
Wistert and Baughan, Maxie Baughan.
Right, who voted for Emerson? He's not in it.
yes, for sure.
Yeah, I just said it was me.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you.
And who are you replacing him with?
Jeff's protest vote.
Yep.
No. So
Jeff
Lester
voted-
Hayes
Charlie
will
Henry.
Jeff's voting for
stay,
Jill Stein.
and I will go with.
Some people just want to watch the
Nobis.
old bird.
I should say, I mean, it will be very interesting this year. Not only 3 seniors, but if you've been following, the entire process has been changed. Right. So they're going to start with a long list. They're going to go to 25. That's going to be publicly released, I would suspect, maybe in July. They're going to go down to 12. I think that will probably be released early August. The committee's being expanded from 9 to 12. It may be 3 more voters, but it may be 3 historians. That will be interesting to see.
Please.
And then all 12 of them.
Yeah,
will
we
be
need
in
some
Canton.
historians.
Yeah, I think would be a great addition. And then all 12 of them are going to meet in Canton in late August, usual timeline. Whereas before it was always just 9 in a rotation of 5 who actually met. The reason I'm making the point is that not only are we going to see the step down, so we're going to see who's considered. 12 voices, 3 new voices, all in the room will change the complete dynamics.
Yep.
I think that favors a lot of guys who we are supportive of and very popular, but it also might see some new names start to rise to the top that hasn't been considered because it's been a pretty small selective group, plus 3 can get in. So it could be very interesting this year.
I nominate Vinny.
All right.
He would nominate himself as well.
Yeah, I know who it is.
So here's what we've got. We still have an element of
We got a tie.
you know,
Exactly.
I haven't put mine down, Jack, if you're tracking.
oh, Ted, go ahead.
Let me put it in.
The hammer. As they say in curling, which is a sport that Kirk, I'm sure, follows very closely.
Hey, curling is awesome. Like every 4 years, the Olympics,
I
I'm
love it.
addicted,
It's
man.
not
Straight
just
into
awesome
the.
every 4 years.
It's really awesome. Like I actually would. I always wondered, could you play? I always wondered, could you play curling in the South?
Tough to find an arena.
Okay, I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah.
Where would you do that?
I mean,
An ice rink.
Yeah, in an ice rink.
I know
mean,
that on an ice rink. I'm just saying.
So it's got to have the thing and the.
Indoor.
We have a
Indoor
breakthrough,
ice rink.
an ice rink.
An indoor ice rink.
Kirk's just managed teams like Tampa can dominate in the NHL.
I think they call that shuffleboard.
Love you too, Jeff.
Kirk, yeah. Tampa.
Are we still
Florida,
waiting for Ted? Ted
Carolina.
is late.
I think Jack and I are both totaling, right, Jack?
Well, did you ever put in your vote?
Yep.
Oh,
you
you
did.
did. You're just counting.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
didn't see a vote. I see a question that says Ted. I don't see Ted's vote.
I thought that Ted had said he hadn't. Okay,
I'm
so never mind.
sorry. I sent it direct to Kurt. My bad. Secret ballot.
Yeah, exactly. Wait
There
a
we go.
minute.
Don't send nothing to me. I'm drunk.
This
Nobis.
probably creates an even bigger tie. So thanks a lot, Ted.
Pull Nobis into that tie. There we go.
There we go.
All right, who we got?
It doesn't actually. It clears it. So we
Does it?
have We have Hayes and Wistert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They each got 4. Baughan, Nobis, and Marshall got 3, and I was the only vote for Joe Jacoby. So here's your class. Your class is Gradishar, Howley, and Ken Anderson. And then our kind of extended, projected, this could happen, etc. An eye toward the future is in this order: Sharpe, Greenwood, Dilweg, Riley, Hayes, Wistert.
You forgot Anderson.
No, I said
Anderson
him.
got in.
No, he said Andrew. He
These are
said
the guys
Andrew.
who
He
did
was in the
okay,
first 3.
okay, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would love to hear the Hall of Fame case for Jim Marshall someday from somebody, and I'm just fascinated by that one.
But it won't happen today. And that's
Oh, okay.
That's a story for
I'm
another
just
day.
saying,
That's a story for
we
another
have
day.
to close this off. Some
For the
people
chat.
want to go home. Some people don't want to stay here for 2 hours. Hey, thank you so much. We've come up with our crew. We've done all this. The Bucknerverse. This is the Bucknerverse sign. The Bucknerverse. Thank you. The Bucknerverse has come to a close here. Thank you all for being a part of this. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe, my friends.